Welcome back to the channel, you guys. So unfortunately we just had some technical difficulties. Not only did we fully pull the engine out of the vert and get down here to re-undercoating our wheel well, let's just say we lost that entire video. And not only that, we started another project yesterday that we actually lost all the footage on as well. Here we have got our four-seater under the knife. Since this is all running well and fine, we're actually taking this drivetrain and we're transferring it over to my Slicktop here. Because if I want to hit 1,000,000 miles on that car in my lifetime, I've got to start driving it soon. It's as plain as that. Last night, we went ahead, pulled everything off, all the wiring harnesses off. We pulled pretty much everything off the top side of the motor and we drained our radiator. So now we're on to the fun part of it all, where we actually lift the car up, pull the transmission, drive line, all the exhaust, all that. We're gonna go back to our roots with this one, and instead of doing everything here with the concrete and whatnot, we're actually going to bring the engine hoist out here, lift the engine, push the car back, push that car forward, and drop the engine in the car. This is how I used to do it when I had less space before I cleaned this barn out. So I'm going to show you guys how you guys can do this at home if you don't have appropriate tools, because if there's a will, there's a way. Trust me, guys. So the reason we're pulling all of this drivetrain out, not only to put into our Slicktop, but we're actually going to upgrade this drivetrain, and we're going to be building a 600 wheel horsepower beast with a stock VG30 DE engine. That's an NA engine with turbos attached. So we're gonna see what we can push with our limits on the E85 side of things. Got a couple spare motors that we can use to test out, so I'm ready to be a test dummy. Now we've got it up on blocks. I think our first step here, we may as well just go ahead and pull this radiator out. Personally, just like to take the overflow off, move it out the way. Pull your lower radiator shroud off. Just make sure to keep your lower radiator hose out of the way. Just like that. Now what that actually can help do is you can leave more than half of your coolant inside your radiator and pull it out as a whole unit and not have to drain it all like up there in that drain pan. Now looks like we can actually pull these intakes all the way out. Since we're going turbo, we actually don't need these NAs because we have to have some with recirculation valve ports. We're gonna go ahead and check out our Slicktop and see kind of how our bay is with this, because I know I've pulled a couple things from it. I don't know if I have a power steering pump. I know I don't have a wiring harness. I need to check for a clutch line as well, because I think I may have taken that. Oh, come on. Literally got to open it so fast, or it doesn't open. It just gets stuck. Needless to say, this thing is chock full of parts, because any other good parts I've ever accumulated for a 2+0, I've actually saved for this car so we can restore it in an appropriate manner. What are we working with? Wow, looks like we already got an engine. Just kidding. This was the undershroud that I actually need to hit up Brian about because that was with his lip. Great idea if you ask me. Cheap, easy undershrouding. But so far, yep, gonna need our wiring harness, gonna need a power steering pump, need the actual engine harness swapped over as well. Probably go ahead and sweep out all that under the battery tray. And yes, looks like we do in fact need a clutch, or clutch master, slave, and line. So we actually just went ahead and disconnected our power steering so we can go ahead and let all that drain out. And when we pulled our rear heater core hoses for our last step up here at the engine bay, I don't know how well you can see right there, there's actually a hole in my heater core pipe, which is crazy because this is a 96 engine. So it's got the newer revision, not like it was revised, but it has literally newer pipes, but yet they've rusted and corroded out. We're missing an entire bolt for our starter. The thing is totally cocked as well. I wonder, actually now that I think about it, I do remember that this had a stripped bolt, but I just never got around to it. I was worrying about it at one point in time. Obviously I didn't need to that badly. Well boys, we literally just dropped this test pipe right on our face because we actually had to snap this bolt off. No idea how it got seized that badly in 6 months, but it did. We actually need to go change our sweatshirt first. I just got this for my birthday, so let's not ruin it. You know, I always dread this part when it comes to it, but this time, for once, I've actually enjoyed it because I remembered I now have a 1/2-inch impact. And there we go, no more test pipes. Now, what I like to do here is I leave my cat back fully in place, and I'll actually bend it downwards. I'll pop the rear end 4 bolts out from the diff to the drive shaft. Then I'll actually slide the drive shaft out from between or under the sway bar between the X pipe, because if not, we would actually have to remove the X or factory H pipe to do so. Pulled the drive shaft finally. It actually came out much easier this time than I anticipated. I did have one bolt in the back, or bolt and nut combo, that was rounding itself on the drive shaft or diff, so I actually had to use 2 wrenches to pull it out. Check this out. It actually looks like it's actually threading off. Let me show you why this is so crazy to me. See that? That is Nissan liquid gasket. I didn't know there was a thread adapter for these things, so I just jammed it on there with some Nissan liquid gasket, and it has not moved since. So we are actually going to have to do that all over again. So now we have this off. We actually need to grab some 12 mils so we can pull the shifter plate off, and then this will actually just drop straight out because it's a solid mount. It's actually mounted to the transmission instead of being bolted up here to the shifter support. Gotta get her at an angle and you can slide it out much easier. Just don't break your bezel there. Well, we're officially at the point of pulling all the wiring harness out. I actually already have all the bell housing bolts out. Now we just gotta smush and contort our hands up in here for a minute. There we go. There we go, we're starting to make some progress. There we go. Slow and steady wins the race when you're in this position. Last thing you want to do is drop 150 pounds on you. That's what victory looks like, boys. I'm so ready to be done underneath this car. Usually my cars are probably another 2 inches higher. So yeah, that little 2 inches, it makes a big difference when you're trying to get in and out of a vehicle. At least under it, I should say. Now, let's lift the front up a little bit so we actually get room to pull our bell housing out. Since we've got the full bottom side of the car off, drive line and all that, we're actually going to call it tonight because it's getting very dark out. Not entirely, but it's actually getting cold. It's just that time of the year. 5 o'clock comes around, it gets dark. It's not very inspirational, you can say. So let's just lower this thing back down about where we'll want it when we go to swap the engine tomorrow. Until tomorrow, Z. So we've only got a couple hours to work today. I think our goal is mainly just going to be to pull this out, pull the next car up, and drop it in. I've got probably an hour to work, so I don't want to get too deep into something, but I definitely believe we've got time to pull this off. Nice and shiny. Yeah, these things don't roll very good in gravel, that's for sure. I'm gonna take these both off while we're here. Hey, it's pumping now. Sweet. Still not moving through the gravel very well. There we go. About exactly where we need her. You'll want to take your chain, feed it this way. You'll want to feed it from the side you want your long side to be on. As you see here, we had to bolt this piece over here. So this stays straight with this side over here. Is the time that I've been waiting for. Just pull this sucker out. Man, I just smacked my head on the handle of that jack when leaning down. Oh my gosh, that about knocked me out. I think it's time to move the car back. May just go for a straight shot backwards. Hopefully we can clear the 240. Roll and start. There we go. Yeah, we'll clear the 240. I don't know how well y'all can see that, but we're Gucci. There we go. I think that's all right. Now, I don't usually mount these, so yep, I've got one mounted into place. You actually got to lift up and pull out, because this little tab right here will be holding on, and you will never get this thing off. Pull the connector. Now, ECU's out. The last thing we've got to worry about is we actually have two sub connectors here, and that is, instead of having one huge connector from factory, it makes it much easier to pull this out the firewall. All brackets down. We've got one more here, then we're good to go. That was actually a lot simpler than I recall. Man, there we go. So luckily we've already got our AC condenser, or our wiring harness plate out. Should probably check inside the car first, just to make sure it's all going the right direction. Yeah, all smooth sailing now. Bam, harness out. This is the moment of truth. Is it? Nope, it's not fully detached. Still have two chassis interface connectors. Wiring harness has been defeated. Well, since you guys already see me take this thing out, I think it's only right to just give it the little treatment. And now we've just got our harness on. We've pretty much got everything in the bay all wrapped up and ready to install. There wasn't a whole lot that needed done, but there was a couple missing nuts and whatnot, and we did get the harness actually routed how we'd like to. I think we're actually going to air up some tires now, because, well, this one is completely flat. Maybe we've got a spare somewhere that we can actually just swap out instead of having to worry about filling it up all the time. I always forget, at least now that we have an impact, we don't even have to loosen this before we lift the car anymore. That's so nice to be able to do. Ta-da! She's officially in her new home. Took way longer than I wanted, and for my mom being a Ford person, she got to change her first motor on a Z. Well, we're actually going to tuck everything up, our hours up. We're going to go grab some food, but for now, let's just close it up, because I feel like I haven't eaten in 3 days, so I'm about to go smash out, to say the least. And now for the post-dinner hike. What a view. And now we're stuck trying to get out of here. I don't even know if you guys can see me, but we're walking in the pitch black. Yay. Literally yay. So we are here again. Next day, after the Z is all dropped, or at least the engine's dropped in, I should say. We got us our one-piece steel drive shaft. We're actually grabbing some test pipes with catalytic converters, so we can hopefully kind of negate the loud rasp and annoyingness that comes with the NA, because if you didn't know, the turbo is your best muffler. Now let's go for the cruddy part. Let's lift old Big Bertha up and slide her under the car. So we just got the transmission in nearly all the way, but before we got it all the way in, I'm not sure how well you can see that, the trans mount actually lines up exact, and usually I have a huge problem trying to get these threaded in when I get the transmission back in the car. And that's all she wrote. There we go. Last nut of the drive shaft is done. We actually went ahead and threw our shifter in already. Drive shaft, obviously, if we are doing these rear end bolts. And the starter is in as well. We actually got back and it was a little dark, but we need to get this done. This car's getting fired up tomorrow, regardless of what happens. So we've got to chip a couple things away tonight. So now we've really just got this huge mess of spaghetti to fix, at least just to install. It's all at least ran or routed the best I've done before. I'm glad I've kind of caught on to know where it actually needs to go to route nicely and cleanly without using all of the factory locations. You know, round it up and put back together. Now our wiring harness is all installed. I think our next step is we're actually going to go grab our fuel filter and our fuel lines / upper rail from our 2-seater, or 4-seater, sorry. The car pretty much that we took everything from. I think that's a pretty good idea. It's got new lines, new fuel pressure regulator, new fuel damper. Can't go wrong with that. And when we go to reinstall our fuel lines, regardless of what everyone else says about oil deteriorating your fuel lines, I always use oil on the inside of my fuel line to get it to slip on the actual barb. Reason being, it makes it super slick, and the same reason that I use oil to put my fuel injectors in. The fuel pretty much washes all the oil away, so in the end, it's still going to be stuck. The oil just helps get it on. Almost all empty. Layer roughly into place. Put a little bit of oil in here. Nice and easy. See, you don't even have to fight the normal struggle. Big tip for these spring clamps, make sure you got the right screwdriver size. If you don't, you're going to have a horrible time constantly stripping them and never actually getting them tight. Now, 2 out of 3, or 2 out of 4 I should say. There we go. Sometimes it's rough just to get it started, but once you do, smooth sailing. Bam! We just got to make sure to pull this back all the way. This kind of headlight bucket is actually pulled in or pushed in right here, so it's kinked in. That's why there's a headlight gap here and none over there. So this is something else that we're going to be fixing when we repair the back, just so we can kind of get rid of this. And let's plug her in. Well, let's go ahead and throw our PTU up here as well. We'll just keep it kind of strung across the intake here, where it's indefinitely going to stay drier than it would down there on the frame rail where I had it. These silicone ones are always tough because the hose clamps are super tight. Let's go ahead and put the passenger side on. It should, I don't know, be a little bit easier. Man, I love the self-installing intakes. Those are my favorite kind, even though they're kind of ugly. Well, you guys, to be honest, I don't even know what else there is to do tonight. So we're actually a little cramped in here. We've got a twin turbo clutch, and actually like a full twin turbo swap, interior swap. We got everything in this car that we still need to do, so there's plenty of content to keep this thing relative, which I'm excited for, because I tell you what, I love this car. This is the car that I want to say started it all, but it wasn't. But it's the one that drove and really got me hooked into the Z. Hand tighten them first, so you make sure not to tighten it too tight and make the connector kind of bananaed or bowed out. Then I like to take a wrench, a ratcheting wrench, and just give it about a half a turn. We'll stuff this bad boy in for now. We'll back, don't worry. We actually just went and grabbed the final piece for tonight, to kind of just cover everything up. Just give us a little paint matched enjoyment for the night. Because as you know, none of my cars are paint matched. So we're actually going to catch you guys tomorrow. Alright, it's the next day, so let's get this thing all wrapped up and finished. I actually have something I need to go check out in Ohio today, and well, I need a car to get there. So that's going to be our goal, is to get this done in a reasonable time so we can hopefully make a 2-hour one-way trip and check something out. So check this out. After doing a little bit of looking, and I was about to just put a funnel in here, but when I pulled the gas cap off, I noticed something. Not only was it the smell that I noticed, check that out. We have an absolutely full tank. We did that when we put an engine in this thing that we planned to keep in it, but we actually pulled it out to put in another car to sell. We may just be good to go on the gas part. So saves me money, time, and a whole lot of effort. Let's get on to the clutch system. We're actually gonna go pull it off for 2+2 because I want factory units, because I want this thing to, you know, be reliable if I'm going to be driving it a bunch. Ta-da! Slow and steady wins the race. Oh, so close. Oh yeah, we made it. And now to reinstall. This is going to be, I don't know, not fun. We have to readjust this because we're no longer running the 350Z fork, so you can see about how far we got to turn it back. So now that we got our clutch system all hooked up, and we actually installed our battery over there, which is fairly straightforward. I don't have a key or an ignition. I mean, I have a key or an ignition, but just not the right one, because I purchased this. Our ignition cylinder and the key, the best part of this whole ordeal. We have got another factory titanium C32 key. Heck yes. Plugged in. Let's put the car in neutral, obviously. Now that all of the main things are done, we're actually going to go grab some lunch, and then we'll be back to finish our test pipes and both of our fluids and coolant bleeding process. Then we're ready to drive. Well, that was a quick little lunch break. Went to Taco Bell, got some goods. Now, since I really hate this part, I'm really just going to help you guys out. Not only me, but now that both of the exhaust test pipes are on, I kid you not, as much as I don't want to admit, that took me well over an hour and probably like 2 ounces of rust in my eye sockets. Let's go ahead, give this thing a crank over, and let's see what she sounds like with test pipes and cats. I like it. You can't even hear it. We cracked the oil loose, dropped the bolt, not a single drip on our hand. Gotta love it. That definitely needed changed. Let's go ahead and crush that brush washer. Oh no. That's what I get for not even looking. Absolute mess out of all this. Dang it. I recommend to do it, you know, if the car is all the way on the ground and it's not 3 feet up in the air where you can actually hit it all. I feel like the factory dipstick is a little off, but everyone else says to run 4 quarts and you're totally good to go. You won't have to worry about starving on corners, etc., etc. Let's start this bad boy up and actually start bleeding fluids and whatnot. so it quits making noise. So now what we do to kind of bleed that is we lift the car a little bit higher. That'll help the coolant. But not only that, but we're going to try to bleed the power steering. To do that, all I do is fill it up and I just turn the wheel back and forth continuously all the way. All the way. Now we've been idling for probably a half an hour now. Let's give it a couple revs. Move this whole beast, top off the system with the cab. Perfect. Well, thankfully that's done. So unfortunately, I think this is going to be the end of the video, you guys. I'd like to get a couple more things done with it so it's better and more comfortable to drive. I've got to clean the inside out. Other than that, we're nearly ready to just start getting some seat time on this car again. I am so happy to be driving my Slicktop again, I tell you what. But next video, potentially, I'll be showing you guys how to undercoat. If not, it'll be the video after. So we will catch you guys then. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to drop a like and a subscription down below, and stay tuned for our next video. Peace.